Due to uncontrollable circumstances, a scheduled in-person forum for the Ward 2 school committee race was unable to be held. To ensure that voters are able, through comparison and contrast, to make their own informed and educated decisions about this race before going to the polls, it was rescheduled as a virtual forum. Hello and welcome to this virtual candidates forum for the Ward 2 School Committee. The general municipal election will be held on Tuesday, November 4th for all municipal offices. Mail-in voting and early voting opportunities will also be available. I'm Jen Adams, the news director of Newton News at NewTV, and I will serve as the moderator today. This forum is co-sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Newton and NewTV. The League of Women Voters of Newton urges all residents involved in Newton's electoral process to show one another courtesy and respect, especially where there may be a disagreement. The League is responsible for communicating with candidates and organizing the format, questions, and moderators. NewTV's primary role is facilitating production and dissemination of the forums. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan, multi-issue political organization that promotes informed and active participation in government. There are specific procedures in place to ensure the integrity of the candidate forums and fulfill the League's commitment to being a nonpartisan organization that does not support or oppose any political party or candidate. Questions for this forum were solicited from the Newton League's member base and from their board of directors. Members actively engaged in candidate campaigns are excluded from working on forum questions. And now, on to our forum. In Newton, the 9-member school committee consists of 1 member per ward and the mayor, elected by voters throughout the city. The responsibilities of the school committee are to select and evaluate school personnel, including the superintendent and all other school officers and employees, to review and approve budgets for public education in the district, which includes ordinary maintenance and repairs on all school buildings and equipment, and to establish educational goals and policies for the schools in the district, consistent with the requirements of law and statewide goals and standards established by the State Board of Education. We will begin by meeting the 2 candidates for Ward 2 School Committee in ballot order. Christine Fisher has lived in Newton for 2 years and is the founder of Navigo Strategies, a nonprofit consulting firm. Linda Swain has lived in Newton for 20 years and is a marketing executive. We will start with a 90-second opening statement from each candidate. Then we will pose the same questions to both candidates that will apply to issues or qualifications for their particular office. Each candidate will have 90 seconds to respond to each question. I, as the moderator, will decide if there is a need for a rebuttal. Rebuttals are 30 seconds for each candidate. Final closing statements will be limited to 1 minute. Now, let's get to those opening statements, which will be 90 seconds for each candidate. And we will start with Christine Fisher. You have 90 seconds.
Hi, my name is Christine Fisher, and I'm running for Newton School Committee because I believe every student deserves the chance to thrive. I've always had a passion for education, dedicating myself to improving student outcomes in whatever ways I can. I have a breadth and depth of experience leading education initiatives, both professionally and as a volunteer. I'm the co-founder of an education technology company that has helped thousands of schools hear from millions of families, elevating parent voice in their decision-making. I sat on the Finance and Audit Committee for a large school district for 5 years, gaining valuable experience in school budgets and operations. I helped expand preschool access for low-income families, ensuring they had a strong start to school. Here in Newton, I sit on the Cabin and Day Councils, working with administrators, teachers, and parents to improve our schools. I've also started an after-school program at Temple Shalom as a board member there. As a parent of Newton Public School students, I know firsthand what's working well and what we need to do better. We need to ensure every student has opportunity to be successful. We need to improve trust amongst all members of our Newton community. And we need to ensure the budget is done in a way that's transparent and considerate. I'm running for Newton School Committee to bring my perspective as a parent and my experience as a professional to the board.
Thank you, Christine. And now, Linda, 90 seconds to you.
Thank you. And thank you to the League for organizing this. I'm Linda Swain, and I'm running for school committee because I'd like to bring back the excellence in education that so many of us, including myself, moved to this city for. For the past 15 years, I've watched my kids grow up in the Newton Public Schools, and I'm proud of what I've seen, but I also believe we can do better. I'm so committed to this city. I've lived here for 20 years, and my kids are fourth generation Newtonians. My mother was a special education teacher, which instilled in me at a young age the importance of public education. With my kids going through the schools from K through 12, including my daughter's recent graduation from Newton North in June, I've seen the strengths and challenges at every level. I've been an active member of the community. I was president of the Cabot After School Board, participated on a principal search committee, and most recently was co-president of the Newton North Boosters Association. I received my BA from Tufts University and my MBA from Boston College, so I have the critical thinking and financial acumen skills necessary for the role. My goal for the school committee is to help bring back excellence in education at NPS, and excellence looks different for every child. If elected, my focus will be to make every decision based on what's in the best interest of our kids.
Thank you very much, Linda. And now we'll move on to our first question. And Linda, we will start with you. What are your top priorities for the Newton Public Schools?
I have three priorities for the Newton Public Schools. The first is upholding and enhancing excellence across our schools. And excellence will look different for every child, but it means we're supporting the success of all students, whether they need greater challenge, greater support, or somewhere in between. And to do that, we need to solidify Dr. Nolan's standard curriculum and common assessments and continue to expand MTSS. Secondly, we need to develop a long-term sustainable budget, one that enables us to achieve the vision set forth by Superintendent Nolan. And developing this budget will take creative measures and might include things like advocating the state for additional Chapter 70 funding or changing the pace of funding pension liabilities. And we can even seek creative funding opportunities. But all of this needs to happen within the ecosystem of the full needs of the city of Newton. Thirdly, we need to create a long-term facilities plan. NPS, the city, and the school committee need to work together to prioritize the next building projects. We need a thoughtful and community-focused planning process for our schools like Ward and Underwood, which have been deprioritized. I believe so deeply in the neighborhood school model, and we need a thoughtful process. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. And the question goes to you, Christine. Would you like me to repeat it?
No. My priorities are that we really work to improve trust with the community. We need to be out in the community talking about what the school is doing well and where we could be doing better. We've lost a lot of that trust over the years, and in particular through a really difficult time, COVID, and then a strike. And I really want to bring that community organizing lens to our school committee. We need to be solidly focused on student outcomes in all of our decision making. From a budget standpoint, I will ask that question over and over again. Is this spending going to drive student outcomes? And that means academic excellence, that means academic rigor, and that means academic support for those who need it. I also believe that we need a holistic approach to our technology use as a school district. I believe our current policy is inadequate. I've appreciated a lot of the efforts that have gone into revising the cell phone policies, but we need to be looking at this holistically of how much of our children's day is in front of a screen and what are we using technology as a tool for learning. That also includes AI. Where should and shouldn't it be used? I have a big passion for technology with a computer engineering degree and having run a tech company. We need to use this as a tool that enables learning and is done responsibly.
Thank you, Christine. We will now move on to our second question, and Christine, we'll start with you on this one. Newton's overall school enrollment is declining and is projected to continue declining. What impacts do you think this will have on the district?
The demographic impacts of population decline are impacting our schools. I do want to clarify that it is mostly a demographic shift, and we don't have a mass exodus of students leaving our programs. We need to focus on ensuring all students within the Newton community who are a good fit for our schools are joining them. But we also need to ensure that our resources are allocated appropriately across our schools based on enrollment. This can be challenging because some of our resources aren't necessarily based on a per student basis. They're more on a per building basis. And that's going to create challenges as we go. I'd like to look at opportunities to expand our preschool and early childhood learning to maximize the use of some of those spaces and get more kids into our buildings as we go through this demographic shift. I also think it's important to look at the budget impacts of student enrollment decline. A lot of our spending is not on a per student basis. It is on a total basis for the school district. And so it's challenging to also communicate to the community. When I'm out on doors, people have that question: why are we having budget struggles if enrollment is declining? And it's important that we're out there talking about this issue to raise awareness about the structural nature of our budget.
Thank you, Christine. And Linda, the question goes to you. Would you like me to repeat it?
Sure.
Newton's overall school enrollment is declining and is projected to continue declining. What impacts do you think this will have on the district?
I believe that the Newton Public Schools are the very fabric that ties this city together. And I think there are a lot of reasons on why people send kids to private schools, and it's very personal. However, I do not believe that a family should ever be forced to make a decision about sending their kids to private school because they don't feel they're getting the quality of education that they deserve in the city of Newton. And families will show their support for the schools with their feet. And never was this more prevalent than during the pandemic, when NPS was remote and hybrid and private schools were fully in person. In addition, obviously, the drop in birth rates is a factor. So universal pre-K could help attract kids and their families into the system early on. But ultimately, what's most important is to bring back the excellence in education to every NPS student.
Thank you, Linda. We'll move on to our third question. And Linda, we'll start with you on this one. Please describe your understanding of the state of the relationship between teachers, the teachers' union, parents, and the city. What steps are you or will you be taking to address the areas needing improvement, if any?
So one of the roles of the school committee is to negotiate the contract with the teachers' union, and that's an important role for all of us on the school committee. One of the things that I think is really important is that the school committee and the teachers union and the broader community are all on the same page as to where things stand, particularly in relation to the budget. So in the spring, when Chair Bresky and Superintendent Nolan went and provided their community meetings around the budget, I thought that was a wonderful first step in creating greater transparency and communication across the community. And it is things like that that I believe we need to do more of and in the future. And if elected, I will do things like have office hours that are convenient for our teachers and open up the lines of communication between our teachers and the broader community. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Christine, the question to you. Would you like me to repeat it?
Sure.
Please Please describe your understanding of the state of the relationship between teachers, the teachers union, parents, and the city. What steps are you or will you be taking to address the areas needing improvement, if any?
I think there's currently a lot of strife, and the level of discourse and the type of discourse that I'm seeing from these different bodies is not what I want to be showing to our kids about how you have tough conversations when you disagree with someone. We need to change and stop the rhetoric on both sides between the union, the school district, and the school committee. I'm really committed to being able to be a voice of reason. I'm a no drama person, and I think that's really critical for us to be changing the type of dialogue we're having. I also think it's very important for our school committee to be independent from influence from the mayor and city council, and independent from influence from the teachers union. We play an important role in advocating for our children, and all of our decisions need to be focused without influence on improving outcomes for our kids. A lot of that has to do with community organizing. I agree with Linda that the budget discussions were a great start, but we need to be doing that throughout the year, educating the community on what we're doing well, what we need to be doing better. How do the finances of the district work? Because there's a lot of misunderstanding about that. And it's really important to me to be able to have those tough conversations in public in a way that we can be proud to show our kids. This is how you have discourse in our society when you disagree.
Thank you, Christine. Linda, you have a rebuttal. You have 30 seconds.
Thank you. What I would like, Christine, you mentioned that the school committee needed to be independent from the mayor, but the mayor is part of the school committee. So I think it's really important that we are working collaboratively with the mayor as school committee members. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. And we'll move on to our next question. And Christine, we'll start with you on this one. You'll have 90 seconds. The achievement gap remains a persistent problem in the Newton Public Schools despite best efforts. What role do you think the school committee can play in addressing this issue?
I think this is a critically important issue that doesn't necessarily get enough attention. We still have massive gaps between different segments of our population within our buildings in academic results. We need more data, and Superintendent Nolan has been coming to the school district, bringing that expertise of how we can have more standardization across our schools and have more tracking and data of what is going on within our classroom and for our students. This is going to be an enabler to letting us know where those pockets of problems are and where those pockets of success are that we can help dive in and learn more about. MTSS is another incredibly important tool that we need to support and support the expansion of, so that students are getting the individualized look at how they're doing and what they need. The school committee is not involved in the day-to-day operations of the school or the curriculum in how it is implemented, but we need to be asking those tough questions and looking at the data across the board to ensure that how it is being implemented is within the goals of our school district, and supporting Dr. Nolan in her move to work on this critically important issue.
Thank you, Christine. Linda, the question goes to you. Would you like me to repeat it?
Yes, please.
The achievement gap remains a persistent problem in the Newton Public Schools despite best efforts. What role do you think the school committee can play in addressing this issue?
I think it is important to note that the school committee is not involved in curriculum decisions, but I think the best way the school committee can support these efforts is really through the support of MTSS. As I have gone campaigning, the concern that I have heard most frequently from parents is either that my kids aren't being challenged enough or my kids are not being supported enough. And I really believe that through the expansion of MTSS, we can better meet the needs of every student, whether they need greater challenge, greater support, or are somewhere in between. And I think the most recent announcement by the superintendent of the math pathway programs is a great step in the right direction.
Thank you, Linda. And we'll move on to our next question. And Linda, we'll start with you on this one. About half of our schools have been renovated in the last 10 years or will be renovated. What do you think should be the plan for bringing the remaining schools up to par?
I think developing a long-range facilities plan is critically important for the school committee. And I think what's very important is that we have a thoughtful and community-based process, particularly to address those schools that have been deprioritized in recent years, such as Ward and Underwood. And I think we need to take a data-driven approach in assessing what is right. And by data-driven, I don't just mean financial. We need to look at all aspects of the data, from the impact to the broader community, to the students, and so forth. But our neighborhood schools are so important. I feel like it was a rite of passage to walk my kids to Cabot, and developing this long-range facilities plan is critically important. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Christine, the question to you. Would you like me to repeat it?
Sure.
About half of our schools have been renovated in the last 10 years or will be renovated. What do you think should be the plan for bringing the remaining schools up to par?
We need to develop a long-range capital and facilities plan that has input from the community, has input from the teachers and the administrators in those buildings, as well as our broader community. People who don't have kids in the schools should be part of this process as well. We should also be looking at all of the opportunities that there are for state or federal dollars to help with facility or capital projects, and ensuring that we're optimizing any of the programs out there to bring dollars into our community. It's going to be really challenging when we have lots of new schools and some not new schools that need some work. We can't continue to ignore the ones that have not been renovated, and they need some continuous maintenance for the most critical issues. I've heard from families about rodents in schools. I've heard from families about problems related to ventilation and mold in their schools. These things are really important that we address, and that we're listening to the community and elevating those issues back to the school district. Neighborhood schools are absolutely critical to our community. I love walking my kids or seeing them out biking to school every day, and that access builds what is special about our neighborhoods. We need to involve the community to make sure that they're successful ongoing.
Thank you very much, Christine. And we'll move on to our next question. And Christine, we'll start with you on this one. What policies would you like to see put in place to improve the mental health of our students?
There's two things that I'd like to do to improve the mental health of our students. The first is really this focus on MTSS, because this is a look at what does each individual child need to be successful in school. And that can be academics, or that can be mental health, social, emotional. We need to be looking at children as individuals and addressing their needs holistically, both academically and mental health. The other piece really is about technology. We've made great strides in our cell phone policies. This improves our students' mental health when they're not on their device all day long. We need to be listening to the data and the doctors and the research about the damage that extensive screen time and technology use can have on our kids. Not only the impact of social media and that environment, but also on their day-to-day environment in the classroom. I really want to spearhead a holistic look at our policy around technology use, and make sure that we're doing it by design and not by default. Every decision we make needs to be focused on how do we improve those overall outcomes for our kids, and that includes their mental health and well-being.
Thank you, Christine. Linda, the question goes to you. Would you like me to repeat it?
Yes.
What policies would you like to see put in place to improve the mental health of our students?
I believe we need to support each student in their social and emotional development, and recognizing that these needs are going to vary by each student. And unfortunately, I think the mental health challenges we see in our children today are bigger than school policies alone can solve, but certainly there are policies that we can implement that can play a role in the mental well-being for our students. For example, ensuring that our kids get appropriate recess time. And I'm thrilled about our most recent cell phone policy, but I would love for us to eventually get to a bell-to-bell no cell phone policy. I don't think we're ready yet for that, but I think we can get there in the future. We also need to make sure that we have adequate support in our classrooms. Our teachers are on the front lines triaging, and it's important that they have the support and the training they need to address and help our students in their social and emotional development.
Thank you, Linda. All right, it seems we've run out of time for questions, so now we'll go to closing statements, and each candidate has 1 minute. Linda Swain, we will start with you, so your closing statement for 1 minute, please.
Thank you. My goal for the school committee is to help bring back the excellence in education that this city is known for, and enabling every student to reach their full potential. I will work to ensure the superintendent's vision is carried out, and a critical part of that is measuring student outcomes and using data to make decisions. I will push for a thoughtful community planning process for upcoming facilities projects. And I will also advocate for the mental health supports and policies that our students need. I have seen firsthand the unique challenges and opportunities that we have across the entire system from K through 12. I am supported by School Committee Chair Chris Bresky and most school committee members, as well as City Council President Mark Laredo and a majority of city councilors. A vote for me as your Ward 2 school committee representative is a vote for putting kids first. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Christine Fisher, you have 1 minute for your closing statement.
I'm running for Newton School Committee because I believe in improving student outcomes. This is what I've dedicated myself to over the last 10 years. Every room I'm in is about that topic. I left my job in the corporate world where I spent 12 years as a professional at Procter & Gamble in finance and strategy roles to fulfill this mission of what can we do to improve student outcomes. It's important that we listen to the community and that we're out in the community to advocate for what's best for our students. That includes supporting Superintendent Nolan in a lot of her goals that she's bringing to our school district. That also means being a strong, independent voice from outside influences and changing the discourse of how we communicate when we have tough things to talk about. I hope you support me in November.
Thank you, Christine, and thank you to both candidates for participating. I also want to thank NewTV and the League of Women Voters of Newton for providing this opportunity for voters to learn about the candidates. Let me remind the viewers that both these candidates are running for the Ward 2 School Committee. All Newton voters may vote for one of these two candidates. The polls will be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. If you will not be able to get to the polls on November 4th, you can vote absentee or early by mail or in person. For further information, including to learn where your polling location is, call the Newton Elections Department at 617-796-1350 or visit the city's website at newtonma.gov/government/elections. Be sure to check the Newton League's website at lwvnewton.org for information about the candidates in the League's Voters Guide. Today's forum is a co-production of NewTV and the League of Women Voters of Newton. Any use or reuse of this program requires the approval of NewTV and the League. The program must be shown in its entirety without any editing, only after the program initially airs on NewTV. The opinions, statements, and claims expressed by the candidates in this forum are their own and do not in any way represent those of the League of Women Voters or NewTV. The League of Women Voters, as a nonpartisan political organization, does not support or oppose specific candidates or political parties. It does, however, take positions and advocate for issues that it has studied. Membership in the League is open to all people. Contact or visit lwvnewton.org and follow them on Facebook and Instagram. NewTV is Newton's award-winning state-of-the-art media center, specializing in television production, training, and building community partnerships. It is Newton's primary source of locally relevant programming. Membership in NewTV is open to all Newton residents. For information, call 617-965-7200 or visit the website at newtv.org. I'm Jen Adams for the League of Women Voters and NewTV, and I thank you for watching. Participate in our elections, and remember, democracy is not a spectator sport.